Hello, I'm Mark Reinfeld, the founding chef of the Blossoming Lotus restaurant and co-author of several books, including The 30-Minute Vegan's Taste of the East. I've been preparing inspired and creative vegan and raw food cuisine for the past 20 years. Last year, I began offering a 10-day vegan and raw food intensives around the country. And today what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a glimpse into that 10-day training by going over the basics of soup preparation, which is the first day of the course. I love showing people how to create soups because they're so easy and the results are so satisfying. So today we're going to go over what's called a one-pot soup, which is basically cutting up ingredients and putting it in the pot. It doesn't get more simple than that. So we're going to go over a simple 5-step process that will allow you to create hundreds of different delectable vegan soups. The first step is you have your broth or stock. You can use a commercially available vegetable stock or broth, or today we're going to be using filtered water and tomato juice. Step 2 is you're going to add 3 very flavorful ingredients that are going to form the base of your soups. We're going to have chopped onion, celery, and garlic. And between the stock and the onion, celery, and garlic, that's going to form the base of hundreds of different soups that you can create. So now that we have our broth and our 3 base ingredients of onion, celery, and garlic, we're going to move on to step 3. And step 3 is when we start to individualize the soup. Today, since we're making an Italian Florentine soup, the vegetables that we're going to be using are chopped fresh organic spinach and fresh chopped organic tomatoes. Step 4 is where we add herbs and spices to further flavor the soup. And I love working with different ethnic cuisines, and since this is an Italian soup, we're going to be adding fresh basil, oregano, thyme, and crushed red pepper flakes. This is going to give the soup an Italian flair. So if we wanted to give the soup an Indian flair, we can add spices such as cumin and curry powder and the fresh herb cilantro. So leaving everything else the same, we could have our same stock base, we could have our same onion, celery, and garlic, we can have our same spinach and tomato. By altering the spices and herbs that we add, we're going to give it a different ethnic flair. And the final step, step 5, is we're going to season it with fresh ground black pepper, Himalayan sea salt, and a little bit of soy sauce to taste. So now we are going to mise en place, which is a French term for having everything in its place. The onion is chopped small, about 1/4 to 1/2 inch pieces. The garlic is peeled and then either pressed or minced. The tomatoes are chopped small, about 1/2 inch pieces. And the celery is sliced thin. The spinach is rinsed well and chopped small, about 1/2 inch pieces. And the basil is chiffonade. The first step is having your stock base, which today we're using filtered water and organic tomato juice. So now in step 2, we're adding the onion, celery, and garlic. This is going to be an oil-free soup, so we're heating our stock up before we add the onion, celery, and garlic. If you wanted to, you can add 1 or 2 tablespoons of oil to the pan and saute the onion, celery, and garlic as your first step. That would add a little more flavor to the soup. Now we're going for the healthy, delicious soup, so we're going to be doing it without oil. Going to add the tomatoes first and let them cook for a few minutes before we add the spinach. Now that the tomatoes have had a chance to cook a little bit, we're going to add our spinach. We're going to let this cook now for a few minutes until the spinach gets just tender. We're going to go on to step 4, which is adding we're going to individualize the soup with our ethnic spice and herb mixture of fresh basil and dried oregano, thyme, and crushed red pepper flakes. And now we move on to our 5th step of seasoning the soup with some fresh ground black pepper, some Himalayan salt, and a little of wheat-free tamari. I like to say that in recipe creation, it's all about the last 2 minutes of the dish where you adjust the taste based on the ingredients that were used. No 2 ingredients are alike, and sometimes the celery could be saltier than other times, and so the spinach could be more or less bitter. So you want to really develop that capacity to adjust the seasoning in the last couple of minutes of the dish. Delicioso. I recently developed a 10-day program to introduce people to the incredible flavors and variety of vegan and raw food cuisine. It's a 10-day training that's offered around the country. For more information, you can visit our website.